This won't be the first time that you've heard me talking about the education system not being fit for purpose. Um, I've based the strategy of my company very much on the fact that I see so many warning signs that I see it as almost inevitable that things are really going to start to crumble, um, all the way from the independent school sectors down to the state school sector. And as I said in a previous video, it tends to always be the most vulnerable in society who get hit the hardest. And Ascendance exists really to try and support everyone within that remit. My concern is not now that some people a few years ago I think might have seen this as quite a bold prediction, given the fact that the school system has been there for so long and has functioned in a way that perhaps is not ideal, but it's this is certainly a counter argument that has been put to me over the years, but less and less last year. I think more and more stakeholders, parents, students were pointing out, without me even needing to, or perhaps me suggesting that I thought there was a crisis coming, and often then it being the student or the parent who would say to me, "Yeah, this is not sustainable." So this summer, really, I've based the strategy of my company, which is ultimately aiming um, to be there for families when this happens. I've based the strategy on the fact that I think this is going to happen quite fast. What I've actually started to feel over the last few days is that I perhaps have not gone far enough. There's always the voice in the back of my mind thinking, am I predicting a disaster where, maybe things are going to be more okay than I'm thinking? And there's that slight sort of optimist. I heard something a couple of days ago that the government are already issuing warnings to schools that they need to be cracking down harder on pupils not attending, people non-attendance, how this is a big problem, how families need to be watching out for it. This is, firstly, is classic reactive politics, which I talked about in another video. It's, the first question that came to my mind is, why are we hearing about this now, a few days before term starts? But also the fact that we're hearing about it before the term has even started raised an alarm bell, a far larger alarm bell in another part of my mind, that if this is already an issue that they're thinking, right, we need to do something about this, this is already happening, and term hasn't even started, that tells me that they actually know something is coming, because they've seen the signs, they've seen what I've seen, and have full knowledge of it, but are just reacting to it now. The problem is, well, there's many problems here, but a crucial problem is that I'd like to point out is the state school system in particular. The school system, in fact, generally could crumble very, very fast, and here's why. Let's take the NHS. The NHS has not been fit for purpose for years, and I'm not talking about doctors and nurses on the front lines. These people, just like teachers on the front lines, just like schools themselves, often are, in the roles of heroes in my eyes. I'm talking about the actual, really, the governments, the successive administrations that have underfunded them and made the systems, just not fit for purpose. The difference is, though, however much the NHS is in a mess, if someone breaks their leg, if someone is in serious agony, if they don't have private medical insurance, they're still going to A&E, because what other option is there? And if the waiting time is 7 hours, then they're going to wait 7 hours, because it's the only option. People are not going to send their children into school if they feel things are so bad, things are so dangerous. And I've warned of the kind of the signs of moral panic brewing. It talks of knife crime, talks of the problems of phones in schools. Again, reactive policies have been passed about that. The disconnect between the understanding of schools and the education system of social media, and the actual understanding of social media of pupils. All of this coming together with schools, or the education system, the government Department of Education actually already kind of issuing these statements to schools saying, you need to crack down on pupils not attending. tells me that this kind of collapse could happen even faster than I was fearing. And I guess my message to you listening is, if you weren't taking this seriously before, and that's not a criticism of anyone listening, because we've all got loads of, we've always, all of us have got stresses going on in our lives, and so it's oftentimes people miss the warning signs until they hit them directly, not because um, of any failing of theirs, but because there's a whole load of other things to be stressed about, particularly in society right now. But I guess my message to you is, if it wasn't at the forefront of your minds, and if you're listening to this, you're either probably a student or you have students in schools, then it really should be. And if you want to talk about it more, my phone is always on, and I'm happy to have a chat about it. Any concerns you have, without any kind of tie into any sort of deal with Ascendance, because first and foremost, I care about our society, and Ascendance coaching really exists to try and step in and help and provide the services that are needed, because I fear soon they will not be just not fit for purpose. They will potentially be in complete ruins. Thank you.